I'm gonna try to make this quick before my phone overheats because it's probably already overheating. But trying to figure out where to even start with this. So, as you guys know, I originally ended up houseless. Well, completely houseless anyway. Because I had to escape my abuse situation under 18 and then do the whole lay low till 18 thing. So, to make a long story short with that, I never actually did consider myself homeless because, for one, I mean, you can't even rent a place under 18 anyway. And two, I just seen it and still do see this situation as my transitional period where I work on myself and go through self-deliverance and all that stuff because of all the things that happened, and even transition into a new life where I'm not living in constant chaos and all that with my health falling apart, physical health, and even the mental health from the trauma. Although my physical health was really it was just completely plummeting, which I already talked about on here. So I never did consider myself homeless. Still don't even like the term. I still feel like this is my transitional period where I get my life together because I actually now have rights to even live in a non-chaotic environment. So yeah. And I mentioned in other videos how the whole thing happened where my tent had flooded, I think before my birthday, or maybe after, no, before, in January. And then someone had talked the shelter into letting me in. And I didn't want to do that because, one, I don't like institutionalized living. It isn't as bad as I thought it would be, though. I do wish it had air conditioning, though. But yeah, still, I don't like institutionalized living. And the second thing was that I didn't want to be a part of the homeless industrial system because, due to all the stuff that I already went through with being in the Cash for Kids system, being a cash cow to people is really a trigger for me. I mean, it should be to anybody, but it's just a trigger to me, and it makes me feel like I lost my not sense of self-worth, but I lost my bodily autonomy all over again. I don't even know how to explain it. But yeah, so there was that. And also, it puts me in another predicament where I have people beating it into my head that I should be running around crying and depressed like some other people are. And things will never, basically a whole bunch of depressing stuff that isn't true anyway. Because at the end of the day, if you're trying to straddle the fence of being quote unquote houseless or whatever, and you want to be in the matrix and being a slave to some job because you want to get a whole bunch of material things to prove something to some people who did you wrong, of course you're going to be depressed in a situation like this. And also for other reasons, but that's not my situation. And so basically I've ended up around a couple of people that I tried to avoid originally in the first place anyway, who have tried to really beat it into my head that I'm in a terrible predicament. And I don't have a reason to see things like that. I really don't. I really just see this as my transitional period. And it honestly wouldn't even be it wouldn't even be bad if it wasn't for the poor treatment, which gives me emotional flashbacks to other things that have happened, and also maybe if I wouldn't have started becoming chronically ill, or if I wouldn't have became chronically ill at 14/15, because that adds to things. But yeah, so trying to figure out how to circle back around to my original thought. Okay, so back to the homeless industrial system part, and how the reasons I didn't want to be in any programs, quote unquote programs, or go to any resource centers has kind of been coming up since I had started going to the first resource center, which was for people 15 to 24. which I'm still thankful for them because I would go there to shower, and that was the only place that would even allow people under 18 on campus, which of course I did eventually start like coming to the shelter to shower and get leftovers because I found out that they actually don't even check ID, but that's still a side thing. So I am still grateful for this resource center, but it's still sick how these systems work and how they're making money off of these situations, which by the way, this specific resource center is for foster kids, and it's technically supposed to help them get housing, but I'm not even going to go into that. So anyway, I already have videos titled Homeless Industrial System or something like that in the Homeless Industrial Complex playlist, where I talk about some of the things that have happened with case managers. But I just wanted to like mention the fact that I'm in like 3+ programs or something like that. Or I'm signed up at places where they're getting grant money and I have a case manager. 3+ different ones. Tell me why my case manager at the shelter had told me that she was going on vacation and she left a letter on my door. Mind you, she already is never here and hadn't been here for weeks. She told me she'd be gone for 2 weeks, so she told me to talk to this other case manager. She wasn't here either, although she's definitely better than, well, honestly, most of the case managers at the shelter are better than the one I had. But anyway, she wasn't here either. She being the other case manager lady at the shelter that I was told to talk to. The case manager I have at the resource center for the foster kids, 15 to 24, and somewhat even just homeless kids in general. She's also never really there and had told me about how she wasn't going to be there. And already they've barely even been open ever since like October because all the staff are quitting because of management. So they've been short on staff for forever, and yeah. And what was the other thing? Oh yeah, and then 2 of my case managers at this other resource center type place that's also kind of for foster kids that is also under the same company as the other resource center for people 15 to 24. Both of my case managers, I don't even know what their schedule is, but they never answer the phone. And it seems like they're barely there too. And yeah, so there's that. And it's like, this is why I didn't want to like get comfortable being able to go somewhere to cook and shower and all that. And for the other stuff that they're supposed to do, they would be in the resource centers. Because it's like you can get comfortable and then they switch up or start to show their true colors, or they never really do what they're supposed to do, because that's how it is for some places. Especially, well, no, let me not go into that. So, yeah, I didn't want to, like, get comfortable in another situation where I'm kind of, like, lying to myself about the idea that these systems are put in place to help. I wanted to pull myself up from my bootstraps, which, I mean, of course I still can do and will still have to do. But I just really didn't want to start going to resource centers. Not even just because of that, but really just because of the emotional flashbacks that situations like this give me to my previous situations. And it's just more stuff that has me around people that will sometimes beat it into my head. Not necessarily purposely, but like that my situation is something that it's really not. Because I don't see myself stuck. Hopefully this is even making sense at all. But I really didn't want that. Also with attachment problems too, which I might have mentioned in another video. Because with the whole situation where like all the staff that originally worked at the foster care resource center, with all of them eventually quitting around the same time for whatever different reasons. I really worried about going to resource center because I worry about stuff like that because I get attached to people so easily because of the different trauma stuff. And it's like I can get attached to some staff members and then they leave. And I don't know, well, I don't want to beat myself up, but I'm trying to figure out a good way to put it. I don't know. It's just not just something an issue I wish I didn't have. I don't really know how else to say it. So there's that. Now, to get into what just happened. So, I really did want to get into therapy about the CPTSD, which is something that I used to talk about a lot, especially back when I was still doing the whole evidence channel thing. I would talk about how I would try to hop into therapy as soon as I was able to once I turned 18. But I was still kind of uh, wishy-washy about it because of all the medical trauma, just the fact that I know how those people can be. But also, it's like with the area I live in now, really no quote-unquote black people live here. They really don't. So I feel like trying to get a therapist I could even relate to would be even worse where I am now, for actually a couple different reasons, especially political stuff too, which is kind of a side thing, but I also worry about that because there's a lot of stuff with that. And of course, I'm not on either side of left, right, mind hurting, but I just feel like some of the stuff that people go along with on the left side of left, right, mind hurting would make it to where, how are you going to help somebody deal with their issues when you basically have values that normalize mental illness? So yeah, anyway, I was talking about that to my case manager at the foster care resource center, the one for people 15 to 24. And so when I had met that quote unquote medical advocate lady, I thought she was a medical advocate. Apparently she's not. Whole side thing. I mentioned her. Well, the videos are unlisted, but the playlist with the videos is public, so the videos are visible there. And it's titled My Health. So I mentioned the medical advocate lady there, and basically to try to make this as short as possible. We had a meeting at the foster care resource center, whatever in the world. And my case manager for the foster care or foster kid / homeless kid resource center, because I try not to say names of places. That's why I'm using all these weird names and beating around the bush, because I just don't, for in case anybody does see this, maybe they won't know who I'm talking about. I just don't want drama to ever be caused behind any of these videos. So yeah, we were having the meeting. That case manager had brought up how I was trying to find a therapist for the trauma and to start working through the CPTSD stuff. But I didn't want the medical advocate lady to know that because due to all the stuff I went through in the Cash for Kids system, I know how labels can be, and also I know how worse medical gaslighting can get, because I was already trying to work with her anyway, quote unquote, to try to figure out if I could get some testing, real testing, and really get to the bottom of the whole chronic illness thing, which I have moved back on to self-treating, which I was still going to do anyway, to be honest, but I really did want some type of diagnosis, but I guess it's whatever. So I didn't want that to even be mentioned around her because the doctor on the first appointment for the PCP was already trying to say that it may be my health issues that I've had that is stupid, but he was saying maybe that has something to do with abuse, because of course, due to the fact that I'm a teenager that's already by myself and is quote unquote homeless. Of course, he's gonna automatically know that something must have happened with the family system since I'm in the situation that I'm in. So, of course, he's gonna like make those types of trauma slash mental illness, which is the same thing. Of course, he's gonna make those trauma abuse accusations to try to like medical gaslight me about my health situation. Cause the obvious, regardless of there being no labels in the system, since for one I'm in a whole new state anyway, or at least supposedly it doesn't transfer over. Honestly, I was told that they don't, but I really don't know how true that is. I know that like if I ask them to request the information from Georgia or North Carolina, they will. But yeah, so the medical advocate lady, she did try to act like she didn't really pay attention to that because I had like let the other case manager know that I didn't really want the trauma stuff to be mentioned because I felt like it would just be another hindrance to me really trying to get to the bottom of my chronic illness. But a little while ago, which this was recent, but months after the situation I was just talking about, a little while ago, the medical advocate lady had brought back up that whole situation with me trying to like get trauma therapy. And so she was like, basically I could live in a mental health group home that supposedly was free, but actually I do have to pay to live there. And it's like I could go in there with like no income, but I would have to quickly find somewhere to work. Which I mean I've been trying to find a job for forever anyway, so it's not like I wasn't already doing that. But it's like, I mean, for one, there's just so many reasons that's a no for me. So one of the things that I talked about with the medical advocate lady and the second case manager that I have that's specifically for housing under the same program, one of the things that I said is that, I mean, we already know how the stuff that the accusations that the doctor was making about how he feels like I was most likely abused just due to my current situation, and that's why I'm out here. And we already know that he was trying to like make that the reason for my health issues, which I mean, a lot of health issues do come from that type of abuse. Narcissistic abuse causes autoimmune disease. It causes, uh, well, any abuse causes brain damage, but it causes arthritis. It causes a whole bunch of stuff. So that's why it's also stupid that they'll try to like almost make it seem like you're just in pain and like all that stuff because of the abuse, but they'll try to act like there still isn't a root diagnosis that they could give that of course you may have still got from the abuse. Because I mean, you could go through the abuse and get cancer from it, but that doesn't mean that you just, and no, I'm not saying that's what I've had. This is just an example. I want people to, this is an example. But it doesn't mean that like your cancer symptoms are just the abuse and that the actual illness isn't there. But yeah, so I was like, we already know how he was acting on that first appointment. The last thing I want you to do is to try to like ask the doctor, ask the doctor to try to request some old medical records for problems I don't even have. Because due to the fact that I don't have the CPTSD put on paper, and honestly, I know like with how the medical system is, I find it hard to even get diagnosis put on paper, and it's like I wonder if I was to find a psychologist, would I even be able to like get any of the problems I actually have put on paper? But yeah, so she was like, since I don't have a diagnosis for my trauma put on paper, we could just, she could just talk to my doctor about requesting all records that they could use as like some type of way to get me into the mental health house because of my trauma, because of the CPTSD basically. And this was all brought up because of the fact that like the whole therapy thing and the trauma was mentioned to her, and it's like, I mean, I just didn't want. It's like with all the trauma stuff I've around this, I don't want anything to be based around mental health. Definitely not a housing place, cause something like that sounds like living at the shelter, but with extra steps and maybe hopefully air conditioning at least, cause it's supposed to be a house. So I would get a room, but of course that means that I'm sharing a fridge, I'm sharing a bathroom, I'm sharing a stove, which means I could be in a similar situation that I was with relatives, fighting over food, fighting over cooking, fighting over showering. And also, it's like with the stuff that my mom used to say about me, I also feel like if the doctor was able to like dig in and find some old records or whatever from like the Munchausen situation, I feel like that would honestly disqualify me for even living at this place. Not that I would ever agree to live in a mental health group home and pay to do that, definitely not. But if I was easily manipulated enough to do this, I feel like it would disqualify me because when I was doing the interview for this place, the dude was asking me, do me, wait, have I or any of my family members ever had a substance abuse issue that caused me or them to be violent? And also, why would I have to like be put on the back burner because of some issues my relatives have? I know that they're probably gonna try to like do the genetic thing or the monkey see monkey do, but like I feel like that's some bull crap. And then they were asking what would I do if like me and my roommates got into an argument over something. And I mean, of course, I get the sensible answer, like talk to them, try to talk it out, walk away, talk to the head people. But the thing is, I don't wanna be in a situation, any other situation, definitely not like this, where I'm at risk of possibly having to argue with a whole bunch of random people over everyday stuff. Definitely not in that type of situation, because it's like this is basically, I mean, they say it's not a group home setting, it's just shared living, which is something you have to do a lot in places like this where everything's really expensive. So you have to like roommate with random people off Craigslist, which I don't even trust stuff like that. But from the sounds of it, I do feel like it would be like a mental health group home. And then I really don't even qualify anyway because I don't have anything put on paper. So that medical advocate lady, I mean, she could talk to the doctor about going and pulling up old stuff, which I told her I don't want her to do anyway, which I kind of don't even really plan on going back there. But like, if I did, I don't want that stuff back in the system, which she was trying to beat around the bush about what all was actually going to take place with her talking to the doctor about signing off. Because she told me that, like, you don't have to tell the landlord or whatever exactly what you have. You just have to get a doctor to sign off. But with the accusations he was already given, I wouldn't even want him to be asked to sign off. I'd rather ask the therapy people, which I haven't went back there either, because the lady was really nonchalant. She wasn't like mean or rude or anything. I just rather, I don't know. I just rather go through self-deliverance at this point, because like this medical system stuff, this Western medical system stuff, the mainstream parts, and what you could actually even get with medical insurance when you're broke, is really not even that up to part. So it's kind of like, never mind me, Regis. I mean, put the doctor thing to the side. I still would say no to this. In fact, I didn't even want to sign up for this, but I know how these programs are though. Cause there was another one where like you get your own apartment, supposedly. And I did sign up for that, but like I don't know. I'll probably just still end up doing some type of live work trade. That's what I kind of want to do anyway for a lot of reasons. But I just am waiting until I finish school and actually graduate to do anything else. But it would be nice to actually be somewhere with bathroom, stove, my own bathroom. Oh, I already said that. Bathroom, stove, and air conditioning until like finishing school, and then I do whatever else after. Because really, I kind of only plan to even stay in this state long enough to graduate, and then that's it. Because it's always been really expensive here. Like where I live is the most expensive county in the nation, and it's been the most expensive state for maybe always, but I know especially since the 50s. So, yeah. Last thing with that though, the um, the two case managers from this program had reached out to me. One reached out to me. I don't even remember what she said, but it was something about the shared living, and I was like, I changed my mind about that, and I'm gonna uh move in somewhere else and something like that. And then the medical advocate lady, quote unquote, because that's really she's really not a medical advocate. I thought she was at first, but she called me too, and so she was like, "What's going on with the shared housing?" And I told her that I found something else, and that I was just gonna move in somewhere else, and that I wanted to do a live and work trade at the farm. Also, another thing I forgot to mention, due to the fact that I have no rental history, because I literally only just recently got rights and turned 18, the program wanted to like talk to the shelter and use him as a reference, which there's nothing bad about that. But I didn't want something like that to happen. Here's why. Whenever somebody moves out, there's this board at the front of the shelter, like as soon as you walk in. Whenever somebody moves out, they mark that off as they help that person get housing. And I don't want to be another person that they can lie and say they help get housing. And I know people may be like, it's not that serious, but I, I don't want that. And like I said, I don't want to move into something like this anyway. It sounds like I'm setting myself up. And it's like, if I do find a job soon, which it's kind of wishy-washy now because next semester I'm going to be a full-time student. So it's like if I'm having trouble finding something in general and finding something that can fit my schedule now, I can only imagine how it would be next semester and for the couple of semesters after that. But anyway, what was I saying? I gotta hurry up. This is overheating really bad. Oh yeah, I remember. So, medical advocate lady called me, asked me what was going on with the house, and oh yeah, I already said all that. I told her that I found something else and that I wanted to move on this live work trade farm, and like I lived there, worked there, something like that. I know one so far, but I may look for something else similar. Honestly, if I could get my health together quick enough, I'd really do something like Peace Corps. I want to try going back to Job Corps now that I live in a whole new area after finishing school, but I don't know about that. Which that's another video, but Peace Corps is something I've been thinking about, something like that. So yeah. Anyway, I told her that. She hung up on me, and I was still talking. And I knew she did it because she was mad. And the thing is, I had to hang up and call back the first time she called, and I had to let her know that I couldn't hear her, and it was breaking up, and that I was gonna hang up and call back. But before I hung up, I heard her saying something about all that we've worked on with this. First of all, you guys waited last minute to even mention this. By the time that they had even mentioned that something like this existed, it only had the apartment and then the shared living, quote unquote, thing. And they only had one room available. So the apartment is probably already taken, but I don't even know. I never heard anything back about that. So yeah. You guys told me about this last minute. And I mean, all we really did was sign papers, and I told her that I didn't even want her to even reach out to the doctor about that. And I'd rather for her to reach out to the therapy people anyway, because it would make more sense for lots of reasons. And I was like, the doctor doesn't even know anything about any of that stuff. And he would have to try to go dig stuff up and request records that would do nothing but bring up a whole bunch of bull crap that would probably disqualify me anyway. Not to mention, you originally said all he had to do was sign the paper. Not that it's like that's something else that I don't like that people do. I don't know what it is with people and not wanting to be direct with somebody and feeling like they have to like lie about things and tell you the story halfway and then do the rest behind your back. But that's really triggering to me, and that also gives me emotional flashbacks. But I don't like that. And it's always people in settings like this that feel like they're above somebody and there's like power dynamics and they feel like they're quote unquote helping people, or they're supposed to quote unquote help people anyway, but they don't. It's always in settings like this where people do that type of manipulative stuff where they try to like uh, play not play dumb with no play like you're dumb. Not even that. I mean, it kind of is that, but that's not even the word I'm looking for. I just really, really don't like that. And it's really bothersome to me how common that is these days with people, especially people who work in systems like this. It's like, why can't people just be upfront? Just like how the case manager at the foster kid resource center would tell me about these programs, and she would tell me that they did one thing as if I wouldn't still have to have meetings with them and find out that none of the stuff that she said was true. And she would be lying to me about it to try to make me feel better about the situation and make it seem like it was something like that it wasn't. Like basically she told me that there was this program that was gonna like that pays people's rent who's 18 to 24, it pays your rent for a while and until you like find a job or whatever. She told me that with actually two different programs. And then I go to the meetings and I find out that that's not true. You're supposed to already have your job and be able to show pay stubs before you even get the place. You also have to look for the place. They don't give you a place, you look for it. And then they like work with your landlord in on the contract. And also they don't really pay for you. It's like rental assistance. They help you pay for a few months, not 1 to 2 years, which is sounding too good to be true anyway. And the lady also let me know that they're not low income housing; they're rental assistance. So they don't give me housing, and they don't give me housing that I could actually afford being one person. So it would still be the usual like $3,000+ a month. So yeah, that's reasons why I did try to avoid the whole homeless industrial complex thing. Because it's like, it's kind of re-traumatizing to be honest, because I didn't see myself necessarily in a bad situation. I know it's not an ideal situation, but I see myself in my transitional period. But now I'm being thrown into these systems where, of course, it's not on the same level because when you're 18 plus and have rights, people can't do all the stuff that they do to you in the Cash for Kids system. But it's still re-traumatizing because it's similar, because I'm people's cash cow all over again that pretend, at least to the public view, that they quote unquote help people, but they really don't. And they're scraping up grant money and stuff to do things that they don't do. While never being at work either. Because it's like, how in the world am I in 3+ different programs and all of my case managers are just not answering the phone or off work or quote unquote on vacation, even though they already haven't been in a month or never in?